We talked about this on Tuesday night's main event. Shield Media is at it again. It's never enough. It'll never be enough. And you need to understand this. It's another lesson that we're certainly going to have. And it's brought to you by way of the people that aren't fond of myself and CBR.com. Just read the title. Disney's Little Mermaid remake would be wise to honor the story's LGBTQ legacy. Okay. So you got the race swap to Little Mermaid. Did I ever do a video on that? I don't even remember if I did a video on that. I talked about it and referenced it, but I don't think I had a video specifically dedicated to it. Look, man, it's par for the course. Nothing really I can offer that's new information. It's not anything that I can offer that isn't something that I hadn't already said. Danish fairy tale, so much like Norse mythology, is something that's pretty white. And instead of telling those stories that, believe it or not, Africa has its own set of kind of lore of people that are of the sea. Those will go not entertained, but the ones based on the Danish fairy tales need to be modernized. But it ain't modernized enough. You got your race swap. That ain't enough. We're going to read some of this. With another Disney live-action remake of an animated classic coming up, many fans are buzzing around the new Little Mermaid. There are many aspects of the story that have been talked over, critiqued, and rethought over the 33 years since the iconic Disney animated film hit theaters. There is, however, one popular aspect that could help the new film succeed if it is addressed. So remember that. That's what they said. This is going to help the new film succeed. What we're about to mention right here. Ever since the original story was penned by Hans Christian Andersen in 1837, the Little Mermaid has been a symbol of the LGBTQIA experience, with both the story and the movie being widely accepted by the community and often read as an allegory. Oh, they love that term. It's been theorized that Hans Christian Andersen wrote The Little Mermaid while struggling with basically a love for another man. So nothing confirmed or founded. It's theorized. It says in this case, his relationship with Colin somewhat resembled the relationship between the Little Mermaid and the prince in the story. That doesn't even make sense with that context in mind. So it's a reach, right? The reasoning for this is starting with something that they just made up. It's a reach. Inconclusive information. With that context in mind, Little Mermaid can be read as an allegory for various LGBTQIA experiences, including being transgender, with the Little Mermaid's tail becoming legs. Most directly, the mermaid's assignment to win over the prince, who sees her only as a friend, in the fable easily parallels the tragically silent experiences with queer love in the 1830s. Dog, I don't know about, how people were thinking about, the whole being transgendered. I don't think that had anything to do with what was on anybody's mind, for that matter, in 1837. While the idea flew under the surface for centuries because it wasn't the idea. In modern era, the internet has become wildly aware of this interpretation. So what this is based on, there's not much else I need to read. What this is based on is a reach. A bunch of people. It's not this. This is the only media where they hijack it. This is classic narcissism, right? So they are hijacking something. It's not about them. There's no evidence that it really is, but they want it to be about them. So they will reach in order to make it about this idea or this ideology, whatever you want to call whatever it is that they call themselves. Now, I wasn't aware that they were trying to, let's say, take credit for this, and this was theirs because it was an allegory. People can find allegories and metaphors and all that in whatever medium. That's kind of the beauty of it all, right? You can make something lean into, let me say this. No, you can make something and other people will get something out of it. In fact, the greatest stories are able to do exactly that, where no matter what walk of life, you can take something that maybe happened and you can find some level of relatability in it. That does not mean that it was specifically created to do exactly that. One of the biggest myths, which I've covered in this like in great detail, I've covered in I have a book, not a book, a video. It's called like the X-Men and the social justice myths. Because one of the biggest myths is that they were specifically created to depict like the civil rights movement. That is a lie. Which is why you cannot find any evidence of even Stan Lee himself actually saying anything about that or even making that connection until the X-Men movie started coming out in the 2000s. And then all of a sudden there was a connection there. And even he's gone out of his way to specifically state that he never created them. X-Men were basically created out of laziness. He never created them to be an allegory or to fight racial bigotry or anything like that. That doesn't mean that the similarity couldn't have existed, which he acknowledges that. He acknowledges that, well, there was something going on during that time which we created that, you can see some similarities, but he never created them to specifically be a metaphor for that. It was just something that fell sort of in his lap, okay? And if you take it to mean that, I guess whatever, but to hijack anything for that matter, any form of media, and then, which is what's happening here, is that the person that created the article is not demanding, but more of insisting, even though all the evidence points to the contrary, that if they lean into that, which as it says right here, and I'll go back to the beginning of the article, this is, however, one popular aspect that could help the new film succeed if it is addressed. It is not going to exceed if now you have a black area, which we know that hasn't been the fact. You've introduced other mermaids within the Little Mermaid kind of world of Disney that aren't white, and now you have this one, Ariel, who was already white, that you're now doing a live action depiction of, and they ain't white. So now you got your race swap. Okay, now you're saying that they need to lean into this, and this is going to, I guess, have people want to view it more, or it's going to see some level of success. That is not the case. This is bizarre. We just saw what happened with the blood origin situation with The Witcher, as you have a person promoting and talking about gay dudes kissing their mouth. That's not going to get people to go see the film, bro. People aren't going to be interested just because something like that happened. So I'll tell you what, Disney, you go ahead. It'll be great for content. Go ahead. Lean into this. If you think this is going to see success because of that, though, you are sadly mistaken. Wherever you're viewing the content, I appreciate you. If you enjoyed it, you may be interested in my comic book company, Rippaverse Comics. Our first book and campaign, ISOM #1, brought in $3.7 million with tens of thousands of satisfied customers. Visit Rippaverse.com to check out our store and stay up to date with the latest campaigns from one of the hottest new comic book companies. Also, my first big step towards a parallel economy was the development of my personal website, ericdjuly.com. This entirely replaced my Patreon. Now, if you enjoy this content, please consider becoming a member over at the website. We have an ever-expanding list of perks for various membership tiers, a forum, and a phone app. Some of these perks will even benefit you if you're fans of the Rippaverse. Anyway, I appreciate you so much for being a supporter and or customer. I even got a little love for my haters.